Terence Crawford, amazing effort against Canelo, who also had an amazing effort. Terence Crawford unanimously won that championship. So how, in fact, is it 2.5 months later that he's no longer the champion of the World Boxing Confederation? Because he didn't pay a fee?
WWE President Nick Khan isn't holding back in boxing's newest power battle. He blasted the WBC for stripping Terence Crawford, calling the move outright nonsense. To him, taking a belt from an undefeated champion over a fee isn't regulation, it's exploitation. This isn't a minor dispute about a title. It's a corporate fight for power. And Nick Khan is stepping in to help Crawford expose what's really happening behind the scenes.
It's only in this sport of boxing where you see nonsense like this.
Boxing remains the only major sport where you can win the biggest fight of your life yet lose your title because of administrative fees. The WBC removing Crawford shows how chaotic and outdated the alphabet era has become. Crawford jumped to 168, beat Canelo Alvarez, and held the belt in the ring. That's undeniable. But Mauricio Suleiman chose to prioritize a payment over performance. By stripping Crawford, the WBC reduced its own belt to a pay-to-hold product, revealing a deeper truth. Sanctioning bodies behave more like businesses selling trinkets than regulators of the sport. Crawford didn't lose. He didn't cheat. He just didn't pay, and that, to them, was unforgivable.
Terence Crawford is no longer undisputed, and the reason why is everything that's wrong with boxing. The WBC has stripped Terence Crawford of his belt. Was he defeated? No, never. Did he test positive for steroids? Of course not. What he did do was refuse to pay them $300,000 for basically existing. Sanctioning bodies are the people who own all the belts. WBC, WBO, WBA, IBF. They're famously corrupt, make rules that make no sense, create mandatories, have rules that apply more to some fighters and less to others, and they deserve no money. But they take a percentage of every fight they sanction for one of their belts. And Terence Crawford actually was willing to pay a fee, just not the fee they were demanding. And I think if I'm an organization that does basically nothing, and somebody out there is literally risking their lives, and all I do is give them a belt, and they are willing to give me any money at all for my troubles, I should shut up, be happy, and take the money and smile. But no, they had to strip him his belt, and now they're gonna give it to somebody who absolutely definitely doesn't deserve it. Just like they kinda just stripped Usyk of his belt. This is why we don't have undisputed fighters enough, and this is a huge problem with boxing, and this is why all the sanctioning bodies have to go. I'm not saying TKO and the whole Zuffa Boxing Saudi League thing is the answer, but we need an answer because there's a problem, and Terence Crawford stood up to them. Good for him.
Here's where the math turns both telling and offensive. Sanctioning bodies generally demand about 3% of a fighter's purse. With Crawford reportedly earning $50 million for the Canelo fight, that would have been millions for nothing more than a logo. Suleiman claimed from their convention in Thailand that they helped by capping the fee at $300,000, barely 0.66%. They expected gratitude. They sent invoices, emails, reminders. Instead, Crawford ignored all of it. No reply, no discussion, no payment. He bypassed them for 2 consecutive fights, including the Madrimov bout. What the WBC called disrespect, the public saw as Crawford finally exposing the system.
He petitioned to fight a final elimination bout in super welterweight against Madrimov and remain champion in welter. The WBC supported him. He did not comply with the rules. Then he moves up to super middle and makes the fight of the century, beats Canelo, makes $50 million or around that. The WBC absolutely is not going to charge 3% of such an amount. We made a very clear 0.6%, which is $300,000, with $225,000 going to the Jose Sulaiman Boxers Fund, which is to help former fighters in need. And it is just regrettable. Not even a thank you or I'm sorry, taking a different route, no response. I wish him the best. But this is not. The WBC is huge, it's great, it's about greatness, and I'm relieved, to tell you the truth.
When news of the stripping went public, Crawford didn't release a polished statement. He went live on Instagram and delivered a scorching rant that spread instantly. He shredded the myth of prestige around the green belt. Speaking from his car, Crawford mocked the idea that he owed Suleiman anything. His words were ruthless, telling the WBC boss to slap himself for thinking he was entitled to even $1 from him.
I see Mauricio, got a lot to say about me not paying him $300,000 plus another $100K something for sanction fees, right? Then he gonna tell me I ain't even apologize. Like, who the fuck you think I am? Boy, you better slap your fucking self.
But he didn't stop at attacking the fee. Crawford broke down where he believes the money actually goes. He accused sanctioning officials of using fighters' cash to bankroll luxury lifestyles, private jets, top-tier hotels, and fine dining paid for by athletes who take the physical damage. He stressed the absurdity of executives living lavishly while fighters absorb the punishment. To him, the belt is just a souvenir. He is the attraction. He is the value, not the green strap they're selling.
Fuck you talking about pay you $300,000. What makes you so motherfucking better than any other sanctioned bodies? Huh? Answer that question. What makes you better than the WBO, the IBF, or the WBA? Everybody accepted what I was giving them. But you, the WBC, think that you better than everybody, don't you? So since you, the WBC, and you got the fucking green belt, which don't mean fucking shit. The fucking real belt is the ring belt, which is free, motherfucker. What are you talking about? You want me to pay you more than the other sanctioned bodies because you feel like you better than them. How in the world all the sanctioned bodies agreed to the same amount, but you sit your motherfucking ass up there and say that I need to apologize to you? The fuck? You can take the fucking belt. It's a trophy anyway.
And now the WBC is facing a major problem, because Crawford isn't isolated. He has heavyweight corporate backing. Nick Khan, president of WWE and a key figure within TKO, addressed the situation on the Pat McAfee show. When Khan speaks, the entire sports entertainment world listens. He called the WBC's decision nonsense and used a simple comparison to expose the absurdity. Imagine the Dodgers winning the World Series only for MLB to revoke the title over an unpaid fee. It sounds ridiculous because it is. Khan emphasized that only boxing allows this level of dysfunction.
Terence Crawford was stripped of his titles because he didn't pay a fee back to the World Boxing Confederation or whatever it is for $300,000. So they stripped his title because he didn't pay them that amount of cash afterwards. And so he's not the champion because he didn't pay them. They stripped him, whatever the case. It seems like really odd timing that this news gets released right now when tomorrow, I believe, there is a conversation happening in Congress about a little bit of an evolution of this or a revival of this particular act. And I know Zuffa is a massive piece of this, but you're not the only ones. There's a lot of boxers that are backing this. There's a lot of people in the boxing business that are backing it. There are retractors, obviously. Can you tell me about what you guys are trying to do and why people would not want you to do it that are in the boxing world?
Of course. So first of all, on the Terence Crawford side, you watched that fight on Netflix on September 13th. Terence Crawford, amazing effort against Canelo, who also had an amazing effort. Terence Crawford unanimously won that championship. So how, in fact, is it 2.5 months later that he's no longer the champion of the World Boxing Confederation? Because he didn't pay a fee? That would be akin to the Los Angeles Dodgers, whether you're a Dodger fan or not, having won a grueling 7-game World Series in one of the greatest Game 7s of all time. It would be like if Major League Baseball came to them and said, well, you didn't pay us a fee, so you're no longer the World Series champion. It's only in this sport of boxing where you see nonsense like this.
By publicly siding with Crawford, Khan signaled that major sports organizations are tired of boxing's fractured system. They see it as outdated and ready for takeover. The damage here isn't to Crawford's name, it's to the WBC's credibility. A belt only matters if people believe the champion is the best. When the pound-for-pound king says your belt is meaningless, fans listen. Crawford made it clear that the only belt that truly matters is the ring title, because it's earned, not bought.
It's free! It's free! How you love that? $180,000 free. How much your belt cost? I wonder, how much your belt cost? Huh? I don't see no receipts on your belt. It's crazy. Y'all be having so much taxes on these belts. You got some nerves. It's crazy that you can sit up there and have all these belts. You know, you got the WBC silver, the WBA intern, the whatever belt y'all got, and you taxing these fighters every time they fight, and you claim that you for these fighters. You're not for these fighters. You probably worse than the promoters. But hey, I wish you the best.
By highlighting the difference between paid belts and earned belts, Crawford is steadily draining the WBC's relevance. He questioned what makes the WBC any different from the IBF, WBA, or WBO. He pointed out that every other organization accepted the contribution he was willing to make, but the WBC acted as though its status was above the rest. That arrogance is dangerous for Suleiman. If fighters realize they don't need WBC approval to be stars, the organization's financial model collapses. Crawford is proving that his name drives the market, not the letters stamped on a championship strap.
So I do think the organizations, the sanctioning bodies, have to be a sort of necessary evil, but deals have to come to the table when you're talking about this kind of money, because like Crawford said, he's the one risking his life, he's the one taking the punches. The Ring Magazine title is free. It's the one you don't have to pay for, but it also has no power. There's no fights that are ever enforced by the Ring title. You know, you can't. The Ring, that was always my problem with the Ring title. When even in the days when HBO used to push it and stop mentioning sanctioning bodies by name, and all there was a push in the boxing media. That's why if you notice that era of fighters in the Mayweather era, there wasn't a lot of undisputed champions. It was because the fad of the day, because that's what boxing is. It's just the latest fad. That's what they go by. Today it's just cool. Tomorrow something else is cool. Back then it was uncool to go for the sanctioning body, so you didn't see a lot of undisputed champions at that time. Now the sanctioning bodies have become cool again, so you see more fighters unifying and looking to create undisputed titles. At that time, I remember HBO, ESPN, even with Friday Night Fights, they wouldn't mention the sanctioning bodies by name. They would just go by the Ring Magazine title. And my problem was the Ring Magazine title had no power. You know, it was cool to have, but you could never enforce a 1 and 2 first fight. There was no way to enforce it. And what's worse is they wouldn't strip. They'd never strip if the main guy at the top never fought the number 1 or number 2 guys, you know. So or if he wanted to take a year off and not defend the title at all, they just wouldn't strip him. I think the Ring title also is problematic, even if it's free, you know. So like I said, I think there's got to be a middle ground where, you know, people have to know how to meet in the middle, and sometimes egos get in the way, and sometimes greed gets in the way.
This is where the story shifts from controversy to potential transformation of the entire sport. This was never about $300,000. Nick Khan and TKO are supporting the Muhammad Ali American Boxing Revival Act in Congress, a proposal to create the unified boxing organization, one governing body, one champion per division, an end to sanctioning bodies acting like private businesses. Khan is using the Crawford saga as Exhibit A of systemic corruption. He's pointing to the WBC's financial demands, title stripping, and alleged luxury spending as proof that reform is long overdue. Crawford refusing the fee may be the first domino in a collapse that reshapes the WBC, WBA, and IBF forever.
With the Muhammad Ali Enhancement Act, what we're looking to do, everything that the act already has will stay the same. If you're a fighter and you want to do it the old way with the World Boxing Confederation, and by the way, the gentleman who runs that organization, this is supposed to be a non-profit organization, going into Canelo Crawford, said he couldn't stay in a regular hotel room. He needed a suite. He wanted to make sure that his tickets were front row. He wanted to make sure there were ample number of tickets. It all seems quite odd to me that a sport would be run that way, or quite odd to us. So in the Enhancement Act, all of that, if you're a fighter and you want to continue with it, nothing changes. This is presenting a different option, where if you want to come into a unified boxing organization like Zuffa or anyone else who wants to create a unified boxing organization, come here, fight with us. We'll have our own ranking system. The champion will fight the number one contender, just like in the UFC. And if the number one contender is not available, then the champion fights the number two contender. So rather than 17 weight classes and 15 different championships and people getting stripped for no reason, let's do it in an incredible way.
Suleiman thought he was disciplining a rebellious fighter. Instead, he may have accelerated the downfall of his own organization. Crawford kept his $300,000, kept his status as the sport's top fighter, and gained powerful support from Nick Khan. The WBC, meanwhile, looks greedy, outdated, and rapidly fading in relevance.
To happen, because right now there's what, the WBO, the WBA, the WBC, the IBF, and the Ring all have their own rankings, and then they kind of are the ones who decide who gets titles, who doesn't get titles. They kind of run it all. What you guys are saying is, yes, we would just like to add a new ranking system as well. Like, what would be the detractors of this? Why would people not want this to go through if you're just adding to something as opposed to maybe eliminating things?
So number one, the Ring magazine does it right. So it's the Ring model is based on the model. We're basing our model in part on the Ring's model, which again, the champion fights the number one contender, the lineal champion, if you will. To be the man, you got to beat the man. Not to make this about Ric Flair, but that's exactly what you have to do for the Ring championship belt. It would be the same thing in Zuffa. So detractors, anyone, and you know this, you've seen it with your own show on ESPN. When someone comes in to disrupt, the people who aren't by nature disruptors don't like it. So what do? They say, hey, he doesn't do it this way, or why is Pat McAfee not doing it that way? Whatever the things that have annoyed you over the course of time, many of which we've had private conversations of, sometimes it's multiple things in one day, that's all normal. So you disrupted. And by the way, your viewership numbers and your ratings are reflective of the great disruption that you've caused. Significant.
This moment may be remembered as the point where fighters finally regained control. When historians look back, the paper belt scandal could be seen as the spark that forced real reform. Crawford doesn't need the WBC, but the WBC desperately needed Crawford. And that relationship is broken for good. If you enjoyed this breakdown, drop a like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss future updates. Share your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned for what's next.